video and 200K. I'll get that plaque that says 100K. Shooting? Oh, oh, right here. Get down, get down, get down, get down. Yeah, just get down. Oh, it's right there. Oh,
That was Bite of Seattle yesterday, outside of the Space Needle, in front of the Seattle Center. We're inside the Seattle Center. For those of you who don't know Seattle very well, there is a large 74-acre campus called the Seattle Center. That's where the Space Needle is. That is where Climate Pledge Arena is. That is where the Pacific Science Center, the Children's Museum, is, with its IMAX theater. And yesterday, 3 juvenile suspects got into a shootout during Bite of Seattle, which is a large festival that we have every single year here in Seattle, where you come and buy food from all over the world, from all over the place, and people always have a good time. There's music, there's booths, there's everything you can think of. I always wish I could go eat at the thing. That was yesterday in Seattle. For those of you who've never been to an event at the Seattle Center, there is almost never security at the entrances with metal detectors. In fact, for the big New Year's Eve fireworks, they close certain entrances, but anybody can walk through there at any time. A giant 74-acre campus that not only has the IMAX and the Climate Pledge Arena where the Storm and the Kraken play, and the Space Needle and the Pacific Science Center, it's also got a children's museum. It's also got a food court. It's also got all these other booths and pavilions left over from the World's Fair when they had it here. And yesterday was a shooting. 3 people are dead, including one of the suspects. 4 people are injured, including a 2-year-old child. Now, our listeners, one of them sent me one picture. I will not be posting it on social media because I think it's inappropriate, and I don't want to fault the person who took the picture. The person sent me the picture because they wanted to show me it was the first responders, and look how they're treating this kid, and look how they're trying to save this kid, and look at all the stuff they're doing. They weren't doing it for the graphic reasons of look what this is. They were trying to show me what it was like at this event. I will not be posting that picture. The other picture I got is a picture of what is believed to be the dead suspect on the ground. I will not be posting that picture either. But last night, what happened was I was at an event for the GOP in Grays Harbor, and I was driving back to Seattle. My wife wasn't feeling so good, so we weren't listening to the news. We're just listening to background music and talking a little bit. But when I was getting texts through my phone, I wasn't responding to them because I'm focusing on my wife. And I got one from my dad. Are you okay? And I figured, was that just dad checking in or something? I assume everything's fine. And then another friend of mine. Are you okay? Do you see what's going on? Now, I'm driving a car. I can't check. Finally, when my wife's feeling a little better, she goes, there's a shooting at the Space Needle. There's a shooting at the Space Needle. So I'm driving a car. We're an hour away from Seattle. I can't do anything. I, of course, hit the gas, and I'm not in the Charger. I'm in the Jeep that I got from my wife at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. But I fire that sucker up, and I got her home as fast as I possibly could, made sure she had everything she needed, hopped in the Charger, flew down to Seattle Center. I got there around 8:30, which is about 2.5 hours after this happened. Jonathan Cho and I are texting back and forth. I go, where's the press conference? Where's it going to be? He says it's going to be over at 5th and Harrison. For those of you who know Seattle, that's right outside the Museum of Pop Culture. That's the Mopop, which is also in Seattle Center, where there also is no security whatsoever. So I have to park over here at our place, which is on the other side of Seattle Center, run around, avoid all the police cordons to get to the press conference. Why am I telling you all this? Because it took me 2.5 hours to get there after the shooting. 2.5 hours, and I live in Seattle. The press conference didn't start until 11 o'clock at night. 5 hours after the shooting. Why? Because at the time, the Seattle Police Department person who's in charge of PR said they were waiting on dignitaries. Waiting on dignitaries? Is there a gunman on the loose? Is everybody in custody? We don't know what the story is. Is there a bolo? Be on the lookout alert. We don't know what the story is for 5 hours. All we knew is that people were shot, likely people were dead, and people were at Harborview Medical Center. It happened at Bite of Seattle. You turned to city officials to give you the details. You're waiting on dignitaries? Well, which dignitaries showed up to the press conference at 11 o'clock at night? Well, let's see. You had Bob Ferguson, Pramila Jayapal, and Katie Wilson. So who were we waiting on? I reached out to Bob Ferguson's office, and guess what? Shockingly, they got back to me. I guess I'm off the blacklist for this one because I want to know where he was. And apparently he was at his daughter's softball game. Fair. Everybody's allowed to do that. He got to Seattle by 9 o'clock. Another 2 hours go by before they have the press conference, and they told us it was going to be at 9:45. Then, while we're all standing around, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson posts a statement. She posts a statement saying there were 2 suspects on the loose. So now everybody's wondering, what's the description? Who are these guys? What do they look like? Do we have any idea of where they went? And we don't know. So then the guy from the Seattle Police Department who's in charge of PR comes out to talk to the media, and we're all standing around. And he comes out and he says that the assistant police chief is going to be doing the press conference. And I'm there, so immediately I chime in with this.
Okay. Chief Davis is going to do it. Acting Chief Davis is going to do it. Okay, he's going to come out, like I said, 9:45.
Where's Sean Barnes?
But yeah.
Sean Barnes is not.
No, he's not going to. He's not going to do it. So he's going to come out here and do it for you guys. And like I said, so about 30 minutes or so. Chief Davis.
Is Chief Barnes in town?
No, he's not right now. But he is on his way. We just had a briefing with him, and he's on his way back. So we're probably going to have someone else say.
Okay. When they say acting mayor, when they say acting chief, that means the mayor's out of town. That means the chief's out of town. So as soon as he said acting Chief Davis, that wasn't Assistant Chief Davis is going to do the press conference. That's Acting Chief Davis because Barnes is long gone and not in charge. So I picked up on that right away. Where is Sean Barnes? Because the worst kept secret in Seattle is that Sean Barnes doesn't live in Seattle. Is that our police chief, Sean Barnes, doesn't live in Washington. He doesn't live here at all. And in fact, now we are finding out that he lives in Chicago. Lives in Chicago. He never moved to Madison, Wisconsin when he was the chief there. And he hasn't moved to Seattle or any place nearby, maybe to save a few bucks on rent. He's commuting all the time. This is the second high-profile incident. Second high-profile incident of him not being here. And I was just handed this by one of our friends over at Northwest News Radio. A new press availability has gone out. This is about most likely the suspect who got charged earlier today. Earlier today, there was a press conference featuring Katie Wilson and Sean Barnes. Sean Barnes was actually confronted about the fact that he wasn't in town and kind of lost his cool over it with a reporter. So much so, it looked like Sean Barnes was going to punch the guy out and had to be pulled away. This is fascinating. This is fascinating because this is what happened right after this. This is Sean Barnes almost beating up a reporter earlier today.
I have been here working as hard as I can for this city from the day I got here. You got that?
There are reports that you are not in town often.
Their reports are wrong. Do you understand?
Let's go, man. Let's go.
You understand?
So when
I work. Let's go. Thank you.
had to be dragged away. And he's lying because we know he's never here. We know he's never in town. So our friends over at Northwest News Radio just handed me this. Mayor and Seattle Police Department to provide update on Seattle Center shootings. Where's Chief Barnes? Is Chief Wiggum, I don't know, maybe, going to do some kumbaya or maybe some Zen yoga or something like that because he's too hot under the collar? Shouldn't it say Mayor Katie Wilson and Chief Barnes are doing this thing together? And yet now we're not even sure if he's going to be there. Now, we just got this also from the King County prosecutor. At 1:30 p.m. Monday, there was a first appearance hearing of the juvenile arrested Sunday at the Bite of Seattle. Logan Bryant, a senior deputy prosecutor representing King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, asked the court to find probable cause for the juvenile's arrest on investigation of assault in the first degree 3 counts, unlawful possession of a firearm second degree 1 count. The respondent waived his appearance at the first appearance and was represented in court by a defense attorney. After hearing from both sides, the first appearance court found probable cause for his arrest on those offenses. For those of you who are wondering why not murder, why not that, this is what they got for right now. There's going to be more. There's going to be a bigger investigation. In juvenile court, bail is generally not set. Someone is either held in secure detention, on electronic home detention, or released on personal recognizance. Now, they ordered him to have no contact with the victims and no contact with the entire Seattle campus. So King County, as soon as I saw that, I said, wait a minute, is he getting out? King County prosecutors asked the judge to order the respondent to remain in secure detention, which was also the recommendation of the juvenile probation counselor. After hearing from the prosecutors and defense, the court ordered him held in secure detention. He is being held at the Clark Children and Family Justice Center in Seattle. I assumed they were going to release him, right? Because this is Seattle after all. So this is a 15-year-old juvenile. And then we find out this just a little while ago. And it wasn't during the press conference this morning. It was from the Associated Press, who somehow got the court documents before Katie Wilson and Sean Barnes. What did they announce? One of the dead victims is not actually a victim. One of the dead bodies is actually another suspect. So you've got one suspect on the loose, one suspect who's dead, and one suspect in custody. They're all juveniles. This sounds like a gang fight, a juvenile gang fight at Bite of Seattle. Are we going to find out they are all prolific offenders? Are we going to find out they all have prior criminal history? Are we going to find out that they were released by activist judges? Odds are probably yes, which is another failure of our city, which is another failure of our elected officials, which is another failure of Seattle, which is how these things happen. And yet you've got Sean Barnes and Katie Wilson, and they're all out there talking about how gun violence, gun violence, gun violence. The gun didn't kill anybody. The person who was wielding the gun killed people. So what happens? They're delaying this press conference for 5 hours. And they knew they had a suspect on the loose. In 5 hours, you could be in Whistler. He could be skiing by then. What's 3 hours to British Columbia, another 2 hours up to Whistler? You could be across the border by then. Nobody knows where this guy is, and we still have not gotten a description of that suspect. Who's actually running the show? Katie Wilson? No. Sean Barnes? No. You're delaying the press conference so that Pramila Jayapal, Bob Ferguson, and Katie Wilson can look important in front of the cameras. And meanwhile, you've got a suspect on the loose. And all police say is that there's no threat to the general public. How can there be no threat to the public when there's a shooter on the loose? And you guys waited 5 hours before telling anybody there is a suspected shooter on the loose who opened fire at a food festival in Seattle outside our largest tourist attraction. You waited 5 hours for that. The gross incompetence, and just to show your faces. So, Katie Wilson, Sean Barnes, Bob Ferguson, Pramila Jayapal are getting raked over the coals for this all night long. You waited 5 hours while you had a suspect on the loose? In fact, Jeremy Harris from Como News, he is the rock star today because he literally called out the police department PR guy to his face about this last night right before the presser.
We are almost 5 hours into this. I'm not mad at you. I am mad at the dignitaries that are holding up a press conference for the public to get information about a mass shooting outside of the space station. It is outrageous that we are being told to wait for dignitaries.
So what I'll do is I'll go back here and we'll get everybody down. We'll get somebody to talk.
Jeremy Harris is 100% right. You're holding this up so people can look good in front of the camera because they all want to be on TV. You got to wait for Jayapal to come from wherever she is and Ferguson to come from wherever he is and Katie Wilson to wait. You know what you could have done? You could have just done this with the police officer PR guy, given us the details. There's a suspect on the loose, and we're going to have another press conference at 11. There will be more information later, but right now, here's the suspect. He's on the loose. Here's what he looks like. We still don't have a description of this guy. All we know is he's a young man. Well, I've got 2 teenage sons. Maybe it's one of them. Young man. Give me a break. This is amateur hour. Completely amateur hour. Then this morning, they know how much flack they've been getting. So what happens during the press conference this morning? They say, well, they didn't want to take away from the first responders by having the press conference right away. BS. BS. If you didn't want to do that, do we have a free building around here anywhere that's set up for press conferences? I don't know that they might have the keys to that has all the equipment there ready to go, including signage and flags. Do we have a big building somewhere in Seattle? I don't know. Maybe it's a hall of some kind. Maybe the city of Seattle owns a hall somewhere where we can have a press conference with flags and podiums. Oh, you mean Seattle City Hall? Away from all the chaos, away from all the pandemonium. What about that rooftop they like to have press conferences on? Bob Ferguson loves that rooftop in Seattle. Was it not available? Was it booked for a wedding last night? You didn't have to have it at Seattle Center. But you need to get your face on the news so bad. You stalled 5 hours before telling us there's a suspect on the loose, and we still don't know who it is. I know a lot of you are speculating about this person online. From that picture I mentioned earlier of the body laying on the ground, that might be the person you're all looking at online. Don't be so sure to trust social media about what's going on, about who these suspects are. Wait until some of this stuff is confirmed. I would love to tell you the details on the suspect. We haven't been given any. Seattle Police Department said they want everybody's help finding this guy. We don't know what he looks like. Then, my favorite, all the officials are trying to release statements at the same time. Pramila Jayapal says she's been briefed by Sean Barnes. Briefed how? Dude wasn't even in town. He had to be briefed on what's going on, but you've been briefed by him. The incompetence, the grandstanding, the lack of security. You guys want to say this is a world-class city? This is a world-class disaster. You have a shooting suspect on the loose. By the way, Bob Ferguson, how'd all those juveniles get all those guns? How'd they get all those guns? I thought we have laws to stop them from getting the guns. I thought the laws were going to stop it. How is one of those guns a rapid-fire gun? I thought we had all these laws to make sure you couldn't have automatic weapons in Seattle. How'd that happen?
Isn't the Seattle Center a gun-free zone, too?
Better than that. Thank you, Kevin. You set this up perfectly as I was going to get to it. Not only is Seattle Center a gun-free zone, Bite of Seattle says on its website they are a gun-free zone. How'd that work out for everybody yesterday?
You know what's interesting is I've gone to Bite of Seattle several times. Both places that we've worked are different sides of Seattle Center, but very close. So we would go and grab lunch on the Friday when it begins before everything really opens up. That way we could avoid the crowds on the weekend, all that stuff. It's always been this freewheeling, no cover charge. You go in and, walk around to the booths, and Folk Life is the same way. Now, remember, Folk Life had a shooting
a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, it's set up the same way. I didn't go to Folk Life this year, and I didn't go to Bite this year. But as far as I know, they're set up the exact same way. It's just freewheeling, come and go. There's no ticketing. There's nothing like that. You can't pretend anymore that you can just go on business as usual like we used to do here. You can't do it anymore.
You can't do it. And Kevin, I'll tell you something. Last night, I walked around Seattle Center while trying to get to this press conference. The only thing stopping me when going into Seattle Center was the ATF, the FBI, and the Seattle Police Department after the shooting with their yellow tape. And I'll tell you something, if I wanted to get in, I could have gotten in. I could have gotten in. I was being polite, though. Also, I don't think the optics are good. There goes Ari Hoffman in a KVI jacket running through Seattle Center just to get to a press conference. Bad optics. But I'll tell you something. I walked through there today. I walked the perimeter of the campus, and I walked in the middle of the campus just to see what it was like. It's a mess. I've never seen it this messy because people ran during the chaos, and they dropped everything. I found a toddler's shoe in the middle of the street, a brand new shoe last night. But as I'm walking through Seattle Center today, there's no caution tape. You finish processing a crime scene of a shooting already? There's no police tape. Tourists coming and going. People breaking down Bite of Seattle. And you have 3 people that are dead, including a suspect. You have 1 suspect on the run, but Seattle Center's open for business. People are going to the Chihuly Museum. People are going to the Space Needle. People are walking through every truck you can imagine, breaking down Bite of Seattle. This is not a world-class city. This is not a city that cares about your safety. We are being run by people who are in over their heads. Katie Wilson looked like she was going to cry at that press conference today, and I think they ended it early. You know why? Bob Ferguson, Pramila Jayapal, and Gurmeet Zalai were there. None of them got to speak. I think they ended the press conference early because they saw that Sean Barnes and Katie Wilson were completely falling apart. Completely falling apart because they are in over their heads. They can't handle the pressure. You want to know why the World Cup was so successful? And I said this the whole time. Because we had federal partners. Well, all those federal partners were gone until they got the call last night. Hey, we need help. We got a shooting at the Space Needle. This is colossal incompetence. Colossal incompetence. Now, unpopular question for everybody. Do you think it should be mandatory to have metal detectors and security at Seattle Center events going forward? It's going to add huge costs. And I think some festivals won't be able to afford it. But I think you need to do this because it's not the gun you have to worry about. It's the person carrying the gun. And these guys, make no mistake about it, we're going to find out this was gang violence. We're going to find out they came there, they ran into each other, and they opened fire. That's what we're going to find out about this. You wouldn't have had any of this happen if you had actual security. But who's running our state? Who's running our county? Who's running our city? The defund the police, the abolish the police, the release every offender, the don't arrest anybody, don't work with federal partners. The naivete to think everything's just going to be fine when we've been warning about this for weeks. I think we have no choice. I think you have to say, from now on at the Seattle Center, you have to have metal detectors and you have to have full security. And if you want to have an event at Seattle Center, you have to pay for those things. Gun-free zones ain't gonna cut it. A criminal knows they can show up with a gun. Didn't stop these teenagers. None of Bob Ferguson's laws stopped these teenagers. I think you have to do that going forward. And I am not surprised at all something like this happened because we've been warning about it not only for the past few weeks during the World Cup, but for the past few years. And mind you, you know what else she was asked about? The security cameras. Do you know there's none of the city security cameras around Seattle Center? None. I checked the list, not a single one. The camera she's talking about today is, do they have private cameras? And don't forget, she's the one who wanted to turn off those cameras. She's the one who did turn off those cameras after the World Cup. They were probably last night trying to figure out what to say when they know the first question of any reporter, and it was last night, was, are there cameras? Are they active? Are they turned on? Did you have them shut off? We are run by naive children. We are run by naive children. Incompetent buffoons. And now people are dead because of it. Let me know if you think we should have detectors at Seattle Center. Let me know if you think we should have more security at Seattle Center. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, including the Seattle Times now thinks we should get rid of the Blue Angels and the hydroplanes for Seafair. Not a random person, their entire editorial staff. Give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I love how a lot of you are saying, well, if you had been able to carry at Seattle Center, you could have stopped this in its tracks. Guys, it looks like they kind of stopped themselves in their tracks here. And I'll tell you something, you'd be charged along with the rest of them because the insanity in this state, you would be charged. Now, look, do I like being disarmed? No, of course not. But at least when I go to some of these events, if there's a metal detector, I think to myself, well, at least the other guy doesn't have a gun too, hopefully. I understand what you're saying. I carry my gun most places where I go. I carry my gun every single time I go to synagogue. Literally every single time. I carry my gun when I go out to dinner with my wife. That's, because you got to go out in Seattle, guys, and there's not that many places you can go that are safe around here. So I understand what a lot of you are saying. Now, Seattle Times every single year, prints an op-ed about how it's time to end the Blue Angels. And usually it's by some neighborhood Looney Tune in Columbia City. So it came out today, and I said, all right, who's this Looney Tune? How are we going to debunk this guy on air? Who's it going to be? Who's this Karen who's going to write the thing? Seattle Times editorial board. The Seattle Times editorial board wants to get rid of the Blue Angels and the hydroplanes because, wait for it, Trump bad. Because Pete Hegseth, bad. That's why they want to do it. I kid you not. They have an entire op-ed today. And you know what they did at the end here? They suggested alternatives. Here we go. Consider the Palio di Siena in Italy, known primarily for its no-holds-barred horse racing. So you guys who don't like the animal stuff, and after all the stuff in New York with the carriages and all that, and all the stuff that happens at the zoos, you guys want to do horse racing in Seattle? You really think that? Yeah, let's do running of the bulls in Seattle. Let's do that. That'll be fun, right? This is a real idea. This is what we're talking about here.
It's going to be great when one of those horses breaks their leg. And you know what happens after that?
That's right.
Glue factory.
Exactly right. Or you know what happens when you have to beat the horse to get to stand up again when it falls, and some kid's going to be seeing that and filming that. Look what they're doing to the horse.
Way better. Yeah. Way better.
That'll be so much fun. Oh, wait, don't forget the poo. The poo everywhere. The poo will be great. Oh, wait, it's Seattle. There's already poo everywhere. Hang on. What are there other brilliant ideas? Lake City versus Capitol Hill, Magnolia, and Rainier Beach with some other kind of organized rivalry on the lake. Rowing. Rafts. Massive water balloon fight. I kid you not. This is what they wrote. This isn't parody. This is real. For those who want something more spirited, how about Battle of Oranges in the Italian town of Ivrea? Participants pelt each other with nearly 500 tons of fruit over a 3-day period. The point is, Seattle can do better. That is all the editorial board is saying. Traditions change. It's time to consider what else in the city could be doing the first weekend of August. Okay. Let's do this for a second. You guys destroyed the economy here with all the candidates you've endorsed. You now want to destroy all the people who have jobs left. As somebody who used to be in the event rental industry, you want to shut that down? Do you know how many vendors make their annual income from Seafair? Never mind the fact that you have this big festival. Do you know how many people make their living on the air show industry, on the hydroplane industry, and you're calling for that to end? You know how much tax revenue the city gets from Seafair, from all the people who come in for the one weekend where it's patriotic around here? And you want to shut all that down? Cancel your subscriptions to the Seattle Times right now. They have such Trump derangement syndrome, such Pete Hegseth derangement syndrome. They want to shut down the Blue Angels. They are calling for people to be put out of business. They are calling for people to lose their jobs. And might I remind you, we experimented with this once before. Do you remember in 2013, Sequester Fair, as I called it? You had Barack Obama's budget, which kicked in and started making all these cuts because he couldn't agree with Republicans on the shutdown. What didn't fly that year? The Blue Angels and the Air Force Demonstration Squadron 2. Neither one of them flew that year. Air shows took a 30% attendance decrease. They also took a massive revenue decrease, and recruiting numbers went through the floor. The amount of revenue that was lost by those vendors, some of them went out of business. A lot of them went out of business parking attendants, security guards, rideshare drivers, concession workers, stage crews, temporary event staff, vendors, photographers, and small businesses that count on one of Seattle's biggest tourist weekends to make payroll. Seattle Times wants to shut that down. Seattle Times wants to shut that down. I don't think they deserve your business anymore. I don't. And I don't think you should be subscribing to them anymore, and I don't think you should be advertising with them anymore. You want to advertise with us. You'll have better results, I guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. I've talked about this on the show before. I've never been to Seafair. I don't really partake. I think it's cool when the Blue Angels fly by, when I'm able to like go out. Remember the old building? We used to stand up there and watch them go by and all that stuff. That's cool stuff. But it's like, is it really my thing? No. But this is moronic. Yes. Yes, because of the amount of people that rely on this. And it's just a thing that has been a part of the scene for however long. Again, not really my thing. Yeah. But I get it, and it shouldn't be shut down. Exactly. Like, for example, the Capitol Hill Block Party isn't my thing. Never's been my thing. Never my thing. Same. Hemp Fest, not my thing. Same. Folk Life, not my thing. Same, although I go over there and get food. But you get the food. You like the food. On the Fridays. But Bite of Seattle, not my thing. Same. But am I saying it should be shut down? No. In fact, did I say it should be shut down after a shooting? I said you need better security. I didn't say it's time to ban the Bite of Seattle. Better security. These idiots want to shut this down because they have such bad Trump derangement syndrome. Let's be real. They hate the military and they hate the working class. Don't spend your money on the Seattle Times, because the Seattle Times is one of the outlets that didn't cover Dr. Anthony Fauci's failings. And up next, my friends, we have his diary, and it's bad. And it confirms everything we knew and shows how the Fauci was high on his own supply. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just before we start talking about the craziness of Fauci's diary, want to remind everybody of a new programming note for today. Coming up at 6 o'clock today is the premiere of the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, sponsored by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range. You're going to have more of the Ari Hoffman Show from 6 to 7 p.m. I know a lot of you can't listen all 3 hours a day and you miss certain parts. Well, you're going to hear a lot of the good stuff that you may have missed earlier in the day, and that's going to run from 6 to 7 o'clock. So thanks to our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range for being our sponsor, because they are the Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. So make sure you're listening from 6 to 7 o'clock tonight. Over on the text line, by the way, this one here from Marino. Hi, Ari. Is there a particular reason that they didn't want to disclose last night the person in custody and the person they are looking for, although the assistant chief did say it was related? There's a video on TikTok, and I think Q13 has a description. Okay, let's stop right there. So let's do this. Number one, just because there's a video on TikTok, don't make it true. For example, right now, if I'm looking at a picture that got sent to me and the video you're talking about, and I know exactly which one, it actually looks like the one that everybody said is the one on the loose is dead. That's actually the one, and we didn't know that last night. So you could have had everybody looking for a dead guy, and we don't know that right now. We don't know that. Second of all, person being arrested last night, yeah, we all assume it's the suspect, but for all you know, he could have been arrested for something else at the same time. And Marino, I think the question that you're asking is, why aren't they giving us this information? Why aren't they giving us descriptions of the suspect? Why are they just saying a young man? Well, I think it's because if they were a white guy wearing a MAGA hat, they would be more than happy to talk about that. From what I've seen so far, no white guys in MAGA hats involved. And they don't want to talk about that at all. Don't want to give us a description, even though there's a shooter on the loose in Seattle, in King County, or maybe went to Portland or Vancouver by now. We have no idea. They've been on the run for almost 24 hours. Almost 24 hours right now. We do not know. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's going on?
You know, regarding the plan that you said, why they didn't give us the description last night of the second suspect, well, here's the reason why. If they really want to know the description, how about nondescript or unknown demographics?
Well, I don't think that would help anymore, though, Leonard, but I appreciate the suggestion. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I haven't gotten to use this intro in a while, but it's time to talk about the Rona again.
We are going to die.
We are going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. Just not today.
According to Fox News, newly released diary entries reveal that as COVID-19 deaths mounted around the world, former White House COVID advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci became increasingly fixated on his newfound celebrity. Released by Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Rand Paul, the journals chronicle Fauci's day-to-day role during the COVID-19 crisis through conversations with President Donald Trump, governors and world leaders, media appearances, and his personal observations as the pandemic unfolded. I am so glad that while a pandemic was unfolding that he said was deadly, then said it wasn't deadly, then said we weren't going to die, then said we were all going to die, then said wear a mask, then said don't wear a mask, then said, well, here's what you got to do if you want to be protected. You get the first shot, but that's not enough. You get a second shot. Then you're sort of protected. Then you need to fill up your subway card with 24 boosters. Once you fill it up with the 24 boosters, then you're protected. So what exactly was in this thing? Fauci was scrapbooking. Fauci was marveling at himself. Is anybody surprised by the guy who they found a giant self-portrait in his own house of him? So while 1.2 million people are dying in the United States, the guy in charge of the response is scrapbooking. Now, let's remember that this guy was admitting in these diaries by January of 2020. When did we start shutting everything down? March of 2020. By January of 2020, he was saying they knew it came from China. He was saying they knew it wasn't the wet market. He was saying it may have spread in the wet market, but didn't come from the wet market. And they were talking about that lab a whole lot. So you mean everything we were saying for months, every single thing we were saying for months was actually true? By May 2021, after recording the latest pandemic figures, nearly 98,000 global deaths and more than 2,700 U.S. deaths, and documenting the day's White House coronavirus task force meetings, Fauci wrote that his national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. And it was not hyperbole to say he was the most famous and talked about person in the country. Now, it'd be one thing if this was one entry. No. This is what the whole book is. He added that Trump seemed enamored with me, even though I'm taking the spotlight away from him. He said he was developing a very unique and interesting relationship with the president. He also noted Secret Service agents have become so familiar with him, they often waved him through White House security without checking his identification. Talked about how he was invited to appear on Dancing with the Stars. Do you remember this guy? When he showed up to throw out the first pitch at a Nationals game when there were no fans in the stadium. No fans. And he threw it into the dugout. Then he goes to sit in the stands with two of his own friends. Nobody else is in the stands except for those cardboard cutouts they had. And he takes his mask off and he's chatting with them while telling everybody else to mask up. Indict him. Indict him. And take away his government pension. All the stuff he did, he knew it was a lie. But he wanted to keep his own celebrity going. We all knew it. Guess who admitted it? He did. We all knew it. Now we know it for real because it's in his own words. I don't care if he's 105 years old. Indict him for fraud. He perpetuated a fraud on the entire United States and the entire world. And then if you questioned him, accused you of being anti-science. You remember that? You remember all this insanity? How much suffering? How many people lost jobs? How many people got drug addicted? How many people got alcohol addicted? How many kids lost their learning because of Anthony Fauci? Never mind the pollution in the ocean from all the plastic masks and everything else going on. Insane. Indict him today. When we come back, my friends, there's a nurse running around Washington who works for a local school who is apparently celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Not a good look when you are a healthcare professional at a school. Give you all the insane audio and details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Apparently, there was a farmer's market this weekend in Issaquah, and a video that came out of it shows a guy in a Charlie Kir Freedom t-shirt and hat who's just buying some stuff from a food vendor. And these two women are harassing him. Now, one of these women starts rubbing her up top against this guy, trying to say, he assaulted me, oh God, he assaulted me. And then rubs her behind against the guy. That's sexual harassment, guys. That's a big no-no. He's just standing there buying his food. The other one, well, the internet did its thing and figured out who this person is. And then I confirmed who this person is because once they were saying she's a school nurse, I reached out to the school and the school district. And they got back to me today. So before we do the statement, here's what happened and here's what these two horrible people were doing to this person who just had the crime of wearing a Charlie Kir t-shirt.
So yes, she has to say thank you because she is serving everyone. So Charlie Kir. Oh my God! Thank God he's dead. Bye.
Okay, I just want to stop there for 1 second. The one who says "Thank God he's dead," bye, is a school nurse in the Lake Washington School District. I thought in the healthcare profession it's do no harm. I thought that was the first thing, right? That's the first thing. Do no harm. And also, is the Turning Point USA a youth organization with high school clubs? I wonder if there's one in the school she works in. So I reach out to the school district. Lake Washington School District is aware of a video circulating on social media involving a district staff member. Admitted it's the right person. See that? They could have said, nope, not that person. It's involving our staff member. We received concerns from community members regarding the statements and conduct shown in the video. The district takes these concerns seriously. While we cannot comment on individual personnel matters, district leadership has initiated a review of the circumstances surrounding this incident and will follow established processes as the review moves forward. It is important to note the views expressed in the video do not reflect the values or positions of Lake Washington School District. That's a good thing because they're pretty bad from here.
Wow. What country do you think this came from? Thank you. Mexico. Thank you so much. She's in a free country being able to serve it. Yes. If you hate it here so much, go somewhere else. I hate you. Oh. I hate you. But I thought you're supposed to be so loving and kind. You're... Oh, no, I'm not tolerant. I'm just as tolerant as you are.
Okay. I'm just as tolerant as you are, and then she calls her the B word. Brilliant. You're so tolerant. The left is oh so tolerant, aren't they? So tolerant, you. Word I'm not going to say on air. There's a few more of the B word in that little thing, right, Kevin? Censored a whole bunch of that. There's a whole bunch of that in there. Yes.
There's a nice F-bomb in there for good measure, too.
There's a few things in there. Yeah. But, you know, we got to pay the bills around here, and we got to give away some money or take the trip. So coming up next, my friends, take the trip or keep the cash, and also the lies that are being told about the initiative to repeal the income tax. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves, a Democrat who became a conservative and is now running for office for the Washington State Legislature. And I went to that Erica Kirk event on Friday, and I am more disgusted by the left than ever. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right, my friends. This week we are giving away a trip to the Grand Canyon as you get to check out Arizona, my friends. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the name. Text the word to the name. No. Text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text your phone number. Do not text Ari. You did such a great job reporting everything with the tragedy at the Space Needle yesterday. Do not text any of that. Just the word itself. Text it to the number I give you, and you'll be entered for your chance to win. Today's word is stone. S-T-O-N-E, as in don't throw a stone off the top of the Grand Canyon. I think you actually get federally charged for that. Don't take a stone home with you from your trip to the Grand Canyon. Just text the word stone, S-T-O-N-E, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also, do not call us with the word. Some people call us with the word. You have to text it to 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. Now, updating our top story of the day is the shooting at the Seattle Center last night outside the Space Needle during Bite of Seattle. I heard that KVI News at the top of the hour hasn't been updated, so just giving you all the facts of what we know right now. Number one, 7 people were shot. 4 people were injured, including a 2-year-old. The 3 adults have been discharged from Harborview Medical Center. The 3 people who were killed, one of them was one of the juveniles involved in the shooting. That was revealed to us not by the Seattle Police Department. That was revealed to us by the Associated Press, who got a hold of the court documents somehow before anybody else did. 2 of the victims have now been named. I haven't had a chance to read this article yet about their names, so I don't want to give them out there. Somebody just sent me actually a GoFundMe for one of them. I haven't confirmed it yet. Thank you to that listener who sent it over to me. I want to confirm it before we go on air with it and tell you all about it. I want to do that. But what we do know right now is there is one suspect on the loose. We know there's one suspect on the loose. That authorities waited 5 hours before telling us there was a suspect on the loose, that there was a suspect at large, because Bob Ferguson, Pramila Jayapal, Katie Wilson want to get in front of a camera. Well, we reported earlier in the show that Police Chief Sean Barnes was MIA last night. Long gone. Nobody knew where he was. In fact, I ran down to the press conference last night, and what happened was the PR person, the PIO as it's called, Point Information Officer, for the Seattle Police Department came on out to talk to everybody. And when he came out, he made the announcement that the acting chief would be doing the presser. And I thought to myself, that's a little odd, because acting chief only means the police chief is out of town. Does that mean he's not here? Here's my interaction with the PR guy for the Seattle Police Department.
Okay. Chief Davis is going to do it. Acting Chief Davis is going to do it. Okay, he's going to come out, like I said, not good fun.
Where's Sean Barnes?
I
don't know. Where is he?
But yeah.
Sean Barnes is not.
No, he's not going to. He's not going to do it. So he's going to come out here and do it for you guys. And like I said, so about.
I've never seen somebody so happy to be saved from one of my questions. Oh, this nice lady, reporter. Yes, yeah, he's not going to do it. Let me tell you what's going to happen instead. So I chime in again.
30 minutes or so. Chief Davis.
Is Chief Barnes in town?
No, he's not in town right now. But he is on his way. We just had a briefing with him, and he's on his way back.
Not in town. On his way back. Second high-profile shooting, second high-profile tragedy he wasn't in town for. The worst-kept secret is that Sean Barnes doesn't live in Washington. The worst-kept secret is that our police chief never moved to Washington. Worse than that, when he was the police chief in Madison, Wisconsin, and you might remember Chief Wiggum, our incompetent police chief, that when he was the police chief of Madison, Wisconsin, he was the one dealing with the shooting at the school, which involved the trans shooter. And he's the one who said he didn't want to release the diary because of sensitivity towards the shooter and their family. That's our police chief. That's who Bruce Harrell hired. Can't even pin this one on Katie Wilson. Bruce Harrell hired this police chief. That's who she hired. That's who he hired. So we're stuck with this fool. But our friend Matt Gilbert from the show, he decided to do a little digging earlier today. Did a little digging. And he said, wait a second, if Sean Barnes doesn't live here, I wonder where he's registered to vote. Turns out Sean Barnes may keep an apartment here, which shows you how much we are paying our police chief, because guess what? He is registered to vote here in Washington. It's crazy. You can look up that information, by the way. But yes, not only do we have Sean Barnes' address of the apartment he keeps here when he's here and flies home on the weekends, but we know everything about his ballot status. We know about his ballot status. It doesn't look like it's been returned yet. The ballot was mailed to him on Wednesday, July 15th. In fact, I know his apartment complex. Really nice building, really nice building. So this is a guy who's getting paid enough money to have a house in Chicago, have an apartment in Seattle, and fly back and forth all the time for the weekends? That's your police chief who's never around. That's how much money we are paying this guy. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Is this voter fraud? I mean, technically kind of lives here, technically kind of lives there. No, I want to know which address he puts on his taxes. Where do you get cheaper taxes? Is that going to be here in Washington or in Chicago? See, that's a close call. I don't know. Both blue cities, both blue states. Where's he actually paying his taxes? I'll have to do some math, some analysis on that tonight. But when we talk about potential voter fraud, Libs of TikTok posted an email on Friday. Now, everybody went bananas about this, but I read this email and I said, this isn't news. We had this information like 5-6 years ago, but I'm glad it's back in the public eye. I am glad it's back in the public eye. What is this little piece of news that Libs of TikTok put out there? Email obtained by a Freedom of Information Act shows Julie Wise, the Democrat-endorsed Director of Elections for King County, Washington, admitting that non-citizens were being registered to vote when getting a driver's license. She then voices concerns that the problem may be bigger than what reports showed. The thing that Democrats say doesn't happen has been happening for years. Now, this email is from Friday, October 5th, 2019. And she said this to Dear Voter Education Fund partners. I want to take a minute to share some information about an issue that several stakeholders and partners have contacted us about. Voters who are not citizens getting inadvertently registered to vote at the Department of Licensing. Let me start by saying that I am also deeply concerned about this. Every year, we hear from a small number of voters who received a ballot because they accidentally got registered while getting a driver's license or a Washington state ID. Stop. Pause. How does that happen? How does that happen? You get accidentally registered to vote? I thought there were safeguards. I thought there's no way that's happening. And yet when we find out it's basically the honor system around here, Scouts honor, I swear I'm not registering to vote, we know that's completely BS. She writes, these voters are often absolutely terrified of the impact it could have on their immigration status or citizenship application, and rightly so. So these are people trying to do the right thing, like they may have green cards, they may have work permits, whatever the case may be, and they're in this country, but because they went for a driver's license, they got automatically registered to vote. So the thing the Democrats say wasn't happening, guess what, my friends? It was absolutely happening. She says that if we are hearing from 15 to 20, we know there are many more individuals out there who are not contacting us. Now, she suggests working with the Department of Licensing. She suggests sending letters to those affected. And she discusses solving this with the legislature. Did any of those things happen? No, because we know illegals are still getting registered to vote. None of that actually happened. This is the director of King County Elections. King County elections, admitting that we have illegal aliens who are registered to vote. And let's take this again. Let's assume the absolute best. Let's assume that it's somebody with a work permit or somebody who's here illegally. And they go, well, if they sent me a ballot, maybe they changed the rules. Maybe they changed the law. Maybe now that I have a work permit or a green card or whatever it is, I can actually vote. I don't know. The laws are crazy here in Washington. Maybe they actually changed something. I'm going to fill it out. That's the best case scenario, by the way, where it's somebody who's actually a contributing member of our society. What if it's the worst case scenario? Where some random drug dealer, I don't think the random drug dealer is actually going to return a ballot, to be fair with you. What if it's somebody who has nefarious intent? What if it's somebody like what we found is happening in Los Angeles, where people are going up and down, bribing homeless people with $20 or $2 or $3 so they could go buy Fetty so they can fill out a ballot? This shows the system is ripe for problems. Ripe for problems. And this isn't Ari Hoffman saying it. It's not Fox News saying it. It is Julie Wise, the director of the largest population county in Washington State, which hasn't elected anybody conservative in, 20 years? And they're admitting that illegals are voting. As I said, this is not a new email. Libs of TikTok just got it and reminded all of us that it existed. We knew this was a problem back in 2019. So I got a question. I got a question for our Attorney General, Nick Brown. Washington Attorney General Nick Brown said Washington's mail-in voting system is highly secure and layered with safeguards. Don't buy into the noise. Look for the facts. So I remember having a copy of this email way back when, and I pulled up the same email without the Libs of TikTok logo on it. So I looked into the facts. Well, we looked into the facts, and look what we found, Nick Brown. So now are you guys going to do something about this? Because this is pretty bad. Pretty bad. What might be worse than this are some endorsements that came out on Friday. Now, for those of you who listen to the show, you know that I have my voter guide up online at kvi.com. If you haven't gotten a copy of the voter guide, text the word VOTE to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And I will send you my voter's guide. If you don't see a race that you are looking for, you can email me and I can help you out. But sometimes I didn't have enough time to get into every single race, and you guys know your area better than I do. So check out your county GOP website for recommendations. If you want to discuss why I endorsed one person as opposed to another person, that's fine. In fact, one of the candidates I endorsed, who was a Democrat organizer before becoming a Republican, is coming on the show at 4:30 today. And you can hear why she switched parties. Maybe it's because of things like this. Because CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terror financing case, which has so many things going against it, they released their picks for Washington. Would you like to know some of the people they endorsed on this list? Lion Clyde Shavers. Remember Stolen Valor? Clyde Shavers, who said he served on submarines, didn't serve on submarines? That guy? They endorsed him. Luke Jasmine III, who worked for Fergie and Inslee, got his anti-Semitic father appointed to the Human Rights Commission before he had to resign in disgrace. Ex-con Tara Simmons, who's up to her eyeballs in ethics complaints and possible corruption. House Speaker Lori Jenkins. CARE Washington Director Imran Siddiqui, who celebrated October 7th and built a campaign about demonizing Jews. By the way, it's his own organization endorsing him. It isn't a conflict to endorse yourself. Joe Fitzgibbon, the alcoholic, and Noel Frame, who are architects of some of the most radical policies of the Democrats, including the income tax. Communist and anti-Semite Sean Scott, who demanded that radicals who blocked freeways not be charged. Monka Dingra, you know, the lady who says she's in charge of safety and public safety and security for everybody, but stopped police pursuits leading to spiking crime? Her. The shill for the Ayatollah, Daria Farivar. This is a bad list. This is a really bad list. And they've endorsed in almost every single race for the legislature. They've endorsed. Is your Democrat endorsed by a terror-linked organization? My post is up on social media. You can find it over on X. under the Hofffather on Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, and you should check that. And a reminder, if you haven't gotten my voter's guide yet, head on over to kvi.com right now and go check it out. And then, my friends, you can see, I'm going to start adding to it who's endorsed by a terror organization to make sure you don't vote for these people. I'll add a few of those. I'll start doing that tonight for all of you. We go to the KVI studio line. We talk to our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, before we do that, I got to ask you a question. You call the show all the time, and you talk about how much you love Vanessa Kritzer. Vanessa Kritzer is endorsed by CARE. You still going to vote for her?
I still support her. I believe she's a special agent of the Redmond Mossad.
Okay, Joe, she's not. Let's be real. Are you still going to vote for a person who's endorsed by a terrorist organization?
I trust her to handle that since she spoke to a real terrorist and Alex Zimmerman.
Did she get back to your comments about being endorsed by a terrorist organization? Because she didn't get back to mine.
She will get back to us when she can. She's a special agent.
She's a special agent for Mossad. I can tell you she's not. She's not. She's most certainly not. So I'm just going to ask again. You going to keep endorsing her? You going to keep voting for her?
I'll stand right by her until such time as she.
She's endorsed by a terrorist organization, Joe.
I'm going to stand by her, no matter, because she's to a real not anti-Semitic terrorist. And Alex Zimmerman.
Alex Zimmerman's Jewish. You going to stand for the person who's endorsed by a terrorist organization, Joe?
Well, she's going to return the endorsement any day now.
Okay. If she doesn't?
I'll still stand by my friend.
Okay. See, Joe, that's a real problem, Joe. That's a real problem where I'm literally showing you that there is a problem with this candidate, and you are still saying you're going to vote for them. You are still saying you are going to support them. And this is why Democrats keep winning in Washington. Because, Joe, you have more common sense than this. I bet you're probably calling to tell me cancel the Seattle Times because they are the ones saying cancel the Blue Angels because you're a pilot guy. Well, the Blue Angels are pilots who fought terrorists. And, they fought people who CARE sticks up for. Those airplanes are used to bomb terrorists, and Vanessa Kritzer is endorsed by them, Joe. She's endorsed by them. Why won't she call it out? Because she wants to get elected. And that's a real shame that she won't even stand by her principles. And this is a woman who claims she's Jewish. And she's claiming, and she's not saying, I'm going to shut this thing down. She's not the only one, by the way. I've got requests for comments out to two people like this. The other one is Roger Goodman. Roger Goodman, who's head of the Jewish caucus. And I'm going to say, dude, you claim you stand against anti-Semitism. You're endorsed by a terror organization. Endorsed by them. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, speaking of voting, by the way, there is a whole discussion about the language that the Democrats, like Nick Brown, Bob Ferguson, and crew, are coming up with about the income tax repeal. They get to decide the language on the ballot. And they're going around saying, it's going to cut the funding for the schools and for the children. And it's not true. It's not true. Ryan Frost, who's over at the Washington Policy Center, wrote a great call out of this on social media. He said, voters this November will be told that repealing the income tax would reduce funding for schools and healthcare. But how can repealing a tax that won't generate a single dollar until 2029 reduce funding for programs that aren't receiving any of that money today? The income tax earmarks nothing for K through 12 education, higher education, or healthcare. Aside from a 5% allocation to the Fair Start for Kids account, beginning in 2029, the revenue goes into the unrestricted general fund where future legislators decide how it's spent. Washington's public investment impact disclosure should describe what an initiative actually does, not imply that repealing a tax that won't produce revenue until 2029 would reduce funding for today's schools and healthcare. Ryan Frost is 100% correct. I got to remember to reach out and have him on the show to discuss this. He is 100% correct. This thing is not going to get rid of the money for the children or anything else. Democrats have a massive spending problem. They have a massive spending problem, and they're spending on stupid. They're hoping this is going to bail them out down the road, and they can use it for the rest of time on Washington. The question is, will Washingtonians fall for this nonsense, or will they actually vote yes to pay less and repeal the income tax? That's what it's going to take, guys. Vote yes to repeal the income tax. Speaking of income, by the way, it looks like Zoran Mamdani is targeting as many millionaires as he can in New York to chase them out. Also looks like he's targeting Jews. Bibi Netanyahu is coming back to town and calling out our communist jihadi mayor of New York. Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my friends, text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757 to get my voter's guide. That's not for the contest. That is for my voter's guide. So that way you can find out if you need some extra information, a little extra help with your voter's guide. Make sure to reach out. I actually had a great time. I went out to Grays Harbor yesterday. The Grays Harbor GOP did a candidate forum. Had a great time. I don't care that it was raining and I was cold. And we were doing this outside. Had a great time. Just lovely people. It's nice to get out of Seattle sometimes. I was a little late to get back here for a shooting because of it. That's fine. That's fine. It's nice to be out in Grays Harbor. Well, you know who's flying to Washington, D.C.? Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. And on the Sunday shows yesterday, they were asking him about the stabbing in New York in front of a synagogue after Zoran Mamdani said use every tool you possibly can to resist Israel, aka Jews. And Bibi Netanyahu was being interviewed by Fox News and was directly calling this out.
He's fomenting hate. He's supposed to be the mayor of all New Yorkers, Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone. But he's trying to turn one group against the other, and he's foisting hate and fear. I speak to Jewish Americans in New York, and they're afraid right now. And I don't think it's accidental that after he made this hate speech against Israel and against me, the next day, a Jew is stabbed coming out of a synagogue. I think, and with a cry of Allah is Akbar, Allah Akbar. And you know what that means. So I think that it's shameful. This thing is very bad for New York. I think it's very bad for peace. But the answer to your question, I intend to come and speak the truth, speak for Israel and for the Israeli-American alliance from the podium of the United Nations.
Now, you know, he's also going to attend Lindsey Graham's funeral. And this is a guy who remembers who his friends are. He's going to meet with President Trump. He's going to attend Lindsey Graham's funeral. And he's going to call out the United Nations for emboldening Iran, for putting up with Iran like he's been doing for years at this point. Now, something else about the victim in the case in New York. I knew this on Thursday, but we didn't want to go live with the information for an interesting reason. The victim, his mother lives in Israel, I believe. And she was going to wake up to the news that it was her son without him being able to call her because he might be under anesthesia because he got stabbed in the chest with a screwdriver by this guy yelling Allahu Akbar. You know, he was planning on moving to Florida to get away from New York. He was just saying goodbye to some of his friends at synagogue. He was in New York settling up his affairs to move to Florida. And he got stabbed by a lunatic terrorist. That wasn't all Bibi Netanyahu said when he was on Fox News.
Well, this is a very important point that you're making, though, because this rhetoric from Zoran Mamdani is more than just talking about Israel and a personal fight that he's having with you. I'm wondering if you believe that this rhetoric is making Jewish New Yorkers unsafe. And is that what's behind so much upset and this anti-Israel sentiment raging across the country?
Well, I do think that Jews feel very uncomfortable because I speak to quite a lot of my friends, and they say, look, it's like a different world. We're afraid to go into the streets. We certainly do not want to wear yarmulkes or any clothing that would give away that we're Jews. But yes, they feel frightened, and I think that's part of this incitement language that is sweeping a lot of circles with anti-Semitism, a lot of circles in the West, in the United States, and unbelievably, in New York City, which has the second largest Jewish population in the world after Israel. And I think it's wrong. The whole thing is wrong. And what are they doing? I mean, what Mamdani is supporting, his wife, his family, he celebrated October 7th massacre, the worst massacre against Jews since the Holocaust. He's basically supporting, or he tries to say that he doesn't, but he's supporting the Hamas murderers who raped our women, then beheaded them, burnt babies alive, slaughtered our men, took innocent people hostages, 251 men, women, children, babies. That's who he's supporting. And they're the ones who are responsible for genocide. They would have killed, as their charter says, and as they themselves proclaimed, they would have killed every single Jew in Israel and every Jew in the world. So the genocide charge belongs to our enemies. What we're doing is try to fight this genocidal terrorist organization that embeds itself among civilians, prevents us from moving the civilians out of harm's way. They use gunpoint. That's where the real criminals are. But Mamdani is aligning himself with the criminals, with these murderers. But the worst thing is that he's tormenting his own citizens, his own voters. Yeah. No, that is wrong. And I've been to New York so many times, Maria, yep. Over the years. I've met all the New York mayors. They all saw themselves as mayors of all New Yorkers, not pitting one part of the population against the other.
So Mamdani on Thursday when this happened, canceled a Twitch stream that he had, which was supposed to be a Q&A because he can't take the heat, so he tries to get out of the kitchen. He had a press conference today where he was specifically asked about all this. And Zoran Mamdani took the coward's way out, just said he's not interested into getting into a back and forth with Bibi Netanyahu. You literally put up a video. You put up a 2-minute video starting this mess. You did this. You know the new craziness, by the way? In New York, Zoran Mamdani is saying he's going to go to the 9/11 25th anniversary commemoration, even though the people who lost loved ones in that terrorist attack are demanding he not go. He's saying he's still going to go. Says he's still going to go because he represents all New Yorkers. Apparently not. They don't want you there. And yet you're still going. That's the arrogance of Zoran Mamdani. It's also the cowardice of Zoran Mamdani that he started this fight with Netanyahu. He's like playing president. That's what Zoran Mamdani's doing. He's trying to be the president of the United States as mayor of New York. It ain't working out so well for him. Ain't working out well at all. Up next, my friend, somebody who got tired of all this insanity in the Democrat Party is now running as a Republican. You're going to hear exactly why she switched parties and why you should pick this person on your ballot. Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, it is election season. We have a primary coming up, and a lot of you keep asking me who to vote for. A reminder, if you want to see my voter's guide, you can go to kvi.com right now. It's up there on the main page, or you can text the word VOTE, V-O-T-E, to 206-421-5757, and I will send it over to you. There is a new candidate who I'm actually recommending, and a lot of you are going to be surprised when you hear her backstory because she used to be a Democrat, and now she's a Republican. And she's running for the Washington State Legislature, and she joins us now on the KVI studio line. Sarah Middleman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ari, for having me.
Such
nice
a pleasure. Tell us about your district, where you're running right now.
So I'm in Legislative District 49, which is mostly the Vancouver area. It is a primarily blue district, and I took a very hard path running in this district when I decided to leave the Democratic Party and run as Republican.
So tell us why you decided to leave the Democrat Party, because that's what fascinates me most about your story.
Well, I mean, a lot of reasons. You know, like I had been told for years that this Democratic Party was like the party for working families. We cared about vulnerable people, healthcare, making sure everybody had the opportunities to succeed. But certain things started happening. I started asking questions about policies. October 7th happened. And then after that, I started seeing anti-Semitism get excused and minimized. Was being rationalized by the people that I thought cared about me and organizations that I trusted, including that Democratic Party and my union. And it's something that's still happening today. So I couldn't stay there anymore. Wasn't aligning with my values.
Now, something that really jumped out at me, you weren't just a Democrat. We have a lot of people in our audience who are Democrats who started voting a different way. You were working for them. You were working with them. You were like organizing campaigns and stuff. And now you completely switch sides. We don't see that very often.
Well, I wasn't organizing campaigns. That's an exaggeration. I was the chair of the Democratic Women here in Clark County, a position that I valued deeply. I loved promoting women. I loved standing up for those values and making sure that women candidates had the support they needed. We also did a candidate training school. That was really, that was kind of my extent within the party. I obviously canvassed for those women candidates and was just very happy to have that community. And these are still things that I care about today, right? I still care about women succeeding in political terms, in their families, in our community. So that really hasn't changed for me.
So it sounds like there was a lot of stuff that was building up. You listed a whole laundry list of issues you had, which is why you moved over. Normally, I find there's one straw that broke the camel's back regarding a switch like that. What was it for you, Sarah Middleman?
Well, I don't think there was one final straw. I was getting tired of being called names. I had, whenever you bring up concerns about anything, I had been called genocideer. I think that was the worst thing for me that happened a little bit ago, well, over a year ago, and I've never quite got over that. I've never reconciled that. So that was very hard. I've also had other strange comments made. You bring up policy questions, you get called names. They want to shut down communication right away, calling you Republican, saying you have Republican talking points instead of saying, oh, you're very curious about this topic. Like, let's talk about it and see if we can meet some kind of resolution or let me understand your position better. There's none of that happening in the party. So I think it was a accumulation of all those things that really just kind of drove me out, or at least made me feel like my moderate voice, my voice for that cares about people, cares about the community, was just not being listened to because I didn't fully align with their ideology.
Gotcha. We're talking with Sarah Middleman, who's running for the Washington State Legislature in the 49th Legislative District, which is basically Vancouver, Washington. So now we covered why you moved to a different party, but why are you running for office? Beforehand, you weren't running for office. You were canvassing, you were volunteering, you were organizing. What made you say, I want to go and run for the Washington State Legislature?
Well, I think that's where real problem solving happens, is at the state legislature. And I just felt like after a while, watching things happen in my own state, I'm a nurse practitioner. I work on the streets of here in Vancouver, Washington, helping the homeless and people with severe substance misuse get into treatment or access treatment. And I was finding that was becoming more and more difficult. And there's a lot of competing interests here. We do a lot of housing first here, and that's great, but housing first really doesn't help you with your severe mental illness, your executive functioning. It doesn't help you get off drugs. It just gives you a place to do your drugs, if you ask me. A lot of people will disagree with that. I'm also, as much as I like harm reduction, if you're not doing harm reduction in tandem with recovery, it doesn't work. It just keeps people alive for one more night. And I really want to focus on those issues, behavioral health, substance misuse, and bring them to the state.
Well,
if I can.
Yeah, that's something we really, really need here, because we know that that's a huge problem. We know there's a lot of grifting going on. We know there's a lot of fraud going on. We know there's a lot of corruption going on. And we know there's a lot of people dying. And we know there's not a lot of people being helped. And this is something we deal with in Seattle all the time, and we've seen it spread to other parts of the state. We really don't want it to get as bad in those places as it is here. Sarah, before we let you go, if people want to learn more about you, if they want to volunteer for your campaign, if they want to donate to your campaign, what's the best way for them to do so?
You can find me at sarahforwa.com. That's SARAH, the number 4, WA.com. And you can learn all about my campaign, and I would really appreciate this is, I'm running in a blue district. I can use all the help I can get. We have to get some moderate voices back into the system. We have to vote for common sense, data, logic. So let's get me to the state.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Sarah Middleman, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for your candor. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ari.
We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, if you have not gotten my voter's guide yet, head on over to KVI.com. That's KVI.com to see my voter's guide. It is up there right now. If I did not endorse in a race you are looking for or recommend, feel free to email me or check out your county GOP website for some other advice. On Friday, I got out of here a little early because I went out to Kirkland to the Pursuit Northwest Church so that I could hear Erica Kirk speak. Now, the problem was that this thing was such a religious revival that I had to leave for my religious revival on Sabbath before I even got to hear Erica Kirk. But as I was pulling up to this event, security was insane. I haven't seen security like this since, the White House. They had federal, state, county, local police, plus private security. It was nuts. Because all these lunatic activists were planning on showing up and protesting. Now, what's funny is there was a fight amongst the lunatic activists. What was it? They posted on Friday that some of them would not be protesting. The communists wouldn't be protesting because they were mad at the LGBTQ plus group for talking to the police about how to not get arrested at this event and remain safe. So the commies are mad at the LGBTQ group. How dare you try not to get arrested? How dare you coordinate with them? They're evil. You can't even talk to the police department. When I drove up, I saw these aging hippies. It was either gray hair or green hair. It was gray hair or green hair at this thing protesting outside. And of course, the communist flags and the pro-Hamas flags and everything. What were these guys actually protesting at this event? So while I was inside, I got a little bit of video of the awful, horrible, terrible, no good, very bad things going on inside the church. Give a listen. So they're praying. They're praying. Now, it may not be your cup of tea, may not be my cup of tea, but there are teenagers, college kids, adults, elderly, praying. Oh, no. Oh, how terrible. Oh, no. We have to shut this down. We have to stop them right now. This is terrible. This is horrible. This is awful. Have to stop them. Have to stop them. I got to say, I was watching this thing. I haven't seen production of a concert like this at a synagogue before. There was production at this thing. The screens and the instruments and the sound system and the TV camera things. I got to raise more money for my synagogue. We got to up our game. No wonder so many people are going back to church. That was impressive to watch. It was inspiring, even for me, and it's not my religion. It was amazing to watch. Amazing to watch. Pastor Russell Johnson, friend of the show, was actually calling out not just the lunatics on the left, but he was also calling out the lunatics on the right. There were a lot of pastors who spoke, but I actually thought our very own Pastor Russell Johnson from right here in Seattle gave one of the best parts of this entire program. Give a listen.
Beware of conservatism that is void of Christ. Beware of talking head personalities who peddle conspiracy theories to their room temperature IQ audiences in hopes of generating a few more clicks and a few more dollars for their narcissistic pseudo-empires. Beware of modern-day Ahabs and Jezebels who sit behind microphones in air-conditioned studios, running their podcasts, monetizing tragedy, attempting to depress the people, divide the movement, and stop us from building in this unprecedented era of opportunity. See, the left finds itself in the position it does today because it failed to properly address the fringe elements of their own party, who now dominate their platform present day. I refuse to make the same mistake. I refuse to allow the conservative movement to be taken over by vitriolic Jew haters, white nationalists, anti-Semites, or Muslim-funded ex-Fox News personalities. What Charlie started, we have the responsibility to finish. The foundation he laid, we must build upon.
Could have said it better myself. Pastor Russell Johnson, really, that was stellar. Absolutely stellar. Now for the main event, Erica Kirk. Erica Kirk had some great messages. I mean, this is a woman whose husband was killed in front of the entire country just a few months ago. Just a few months ago. And she comes out there to talk about faith and talk about her unshakable faith in God and how she's there for these teenagers and giving them a little bit of inspiration. Give a listen.
Lord provides you strength according to the day, and it's renewed every day. Every day. So like that, don't live a lukewarm life. Don't live a lukewarm life. All of our TPUSA students, they're on fire for the Lord, and they're on fire for this country. And those students are battling for this country, just like all of you. Battling for this country. They're fighting on their high school and college campuses just how you guys are fighting in this church and across this nation.
Then, she was also calling out basically the people who are choosing not to be in the room because they'd rather be outside, and the people who chose to be in the room. It's the middle of the summer, and there were high school kids there. These kids could be anywhere else, and they chose to go to church on a Friday night. Here's what she said.
You have choices to make every single day. Some might be smaller than others, some might be bigger. Could be as simple as deciding to make your bed, to put the grocery cart back into the right spot. Or it could be something super monumental, like deciding who you're going to marry, taking a job, moving cross country. We're all riddled with different choices in life, but there are two different lifestyles that you can live. You can either live a life that's characterized by rebellion and sin, or you can live a life that is increasingly characterized by repentance, by having that postured heart of surrender, which is way more of a powerful position to be in. So you have to ask yourself daily, which is a choice, what team are you on? The rebellious side, or the side of repentance, where you know that you can let God use you the way he needs to? Because the enemy literally has no power over you.
What horrible messaging. What terrible messaging. And that's what the lunatics outside were trying to stop. Some lunatics did make it inside, as a matter of fact. There was one former writer of The Stranger who snuck into this event and got all mad she got tossed out. You know, I got to say, why bother showing up? Why bother showing up? What, you want to see for yourself? I was there for about an hour before I had to go for Sabbath. It was funny. She was getting thrown out in front of me. So as I was leaving, I see this drama unfolding by the door. It was kind of entertaining. But what did I see in the hour I was there for? I saw speeches by pastors. I saw speeches by Turning Point USA that were very, very much about religion, not political. And I saw a rock concert. And I saw people praying. That's what you're mad about? That's what you're trying to stop just because you disagree with them? What, trying to expose them? What, you think they're a bunch of cultists or something because they believe in religion? Guess what? The majority of the country believes in religion as well. And I saw that person getting tossed out. I go, oh, she's going to go to the parking lot and film an Instagram. I'm sure she probably did. That's how you want to spend your Friday night? Getting thrown out of this thing? What, because a bunch of kids want to go to church rather than do fentanyl? Rather than do drugs, rather than drink, rather than do any of the crazy things the left is doing right now? There was one who made it inside who was a bit of a heckler. Jonathan Cho, I believe, got this video of how Erica Kirk handled it.
I did marry Charlie Kirk, and I am so proud I did because he's the love of my life. Love of my life. Love of my life.
This heckler apparently said she married a Nazi or all the other stuff that goes along that they always say and got thrown out. And Jonathan Cho's interviewing this guy outside like, was it worth it, bro? Was it worth it? And the dude couldn't even formulate what they were actually there for. What are they protesting? This guy looked like a black sideshow Bob. I don't mean Bob Ferguson. I mean the one from the cartoon. That's what he looked. You should see how this kid was dressed. Did you fight for justice? Did you do it? Because what did you accomplish by doing that? You might have charges on you now for trespassing. It's a private event. You might have those charges. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? And you went there to mock a widow who lost her husband? That's how screwed up your moral center is? That's how screwed up your conscience is? To protest a bunch of people who are praying and a widow whose husband got killed basically on national TV. That's what you're protesting. Shame on all the people who did so. I bet if you ask them what they're actually protesting, they probably have no idea whatsoever. Kudos to Turning Point USA. Kudos to the Pursuit Church Northwest for a phenomenal event. Wish I could have stayed longer. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, including the latest from the shooting at Seattle Center. Got some new updates for you. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour also, we are going to have the Assistant Press Secretary for the White House joining us. Talk about a new program they're rolling out to lower your utility costs while Seattle City Council is raising your utility costs. But before we get to any of that, we're going to update you on the top story of the day, which is, of course, yesterday's shooting at Seattle Center. Now, let me walk you through this whole thing as I experienced it yesterday. Thank God I wasn't there when it actually happened. But let me give you the details as we know them now. Just right off the top, we now know there were 3 shooters. One shooter is dead. That's one of the people who's dead is one of the shooters. We know that another one is under arrest. And we know that another one is at large. And the Seattle Police Department, to my knowledge, has still not released a description of the shooter we are looking for, but is telling everybody to report if you see anything, if you know anything. Last night, I saw on the Seattle Police scanner that somebody from Metro, a Metro bus driver, had called in a person of interest who was on their bus. Well, you're looking for a young man. That could be literally anybody. Literally anybody. And it was 5 hours before they did a press conference to tell us there was a suspect at large. Video was circulating the internet of somebody being taken into custody, so a lot of people assumed they got their man. There were 3 shooters, 3 juvenile shooters. One of them was having their first court appearance today. They haven't been charged with murder yet, but they were charged with a whole bunch of other stuff to hold them. They're being held in jail, which I'm surprised by. Normally, they're just released. The absolute incompetence of our city officials was on full display yesterday in response to this shooting. So yesterday, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I was moderating an event for the Grays Harbor GOP. Where I was in Grays Harbor is about 2.5 hours away from my home. I wrap up the event around 6. I get in the car. My wife's not feeling so well. So as we're driving along, I kind of just put on some quiet music. I'm not going to put on the news. My phone has the Bluetooth stuff, and I'm getting texts. I'm not really answering them, but a few you can kind of see on the screen. So at red lights and such, I'm checking it. And I got my dad saying, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, is that the new way of saying, hey, you haven't called in a while? I was kind of wondering what was going on. And I'm like, okay, I'll call him later. And then another friend of mine, "Are you okay? Are you going down there?" What are you talking about? My wife's feeling a little bit better later in the trip. She pulls out her cell phone. Oh, my God, there's a shooting at the Space Needle. This is around, what time is this? Around 7:30, 8. We're getting pretty close to Seattle now at this point. So I said, a shooting at the Space Needle. What's going on? My wife has now got an adrenaline rush, and now she's looking into everything and seeing what's going on and giving me the updates as she's seeing on X and give me all the information. I get my wife home. I get her tucked in. I get her whatever she needs. I do whatever she needs. I check in, make sure she's good to go. And then I hop in my Charger, my fastest car. And I go flying down here. There's a shooting at the Space Needle. Our station's pretty close to the Space Needle. So I come flying down here. I got down here around 8:30, I think it was. So now 2.5 hours after the shooting. Still no press conference. Still no information if anybody's at large. Still no info on anybody being arrested. That's 2.5 hours later. That is unheard of. What sometimes happens in these situations is they call a press conference or they send somebody out from the police department. Here's what we know. The next update will be at 9 o'clock. The next update will be at 10 o'clock. The next update is at 11 o'clock. Now, I know my friends, right? So I check in with my friends at Northwest News Radio. I check in with Jeff Pogula. I said, hey, I'm going down there. Do you have people down there? He goes, yeah, we got a few people down there. They're going to the press conference. I said, okay, can you have them send me the info when they have it? He goes, yeah, we don't have it yet, though. They're going down there, but we don't know where it's going to be yet. I check in with Jonathan Cho. Hey, dude, can you do me a favor? Let me know when you know where the press conference is. Sure, bro. Sure. Here's where it's going to be. It's going to be over here. Of course, that's after I park my car at the studio. I find out it's on the other side of Seattle Center, and now you can't walk through Seattle Center. For those of you who've never been here before, it's a 74-acre property. In the middle of Seattle, it's where they had the World's Fair. They have the Space Needle there. They have the Pacific Science Center Museum, which is there. They have the IMAX there. They also have the MoPop, which is the Museum of Pop Culture, and the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, and the Music Museum that's always talking about Nirvana. They also have there a children's museum. All this is on the grounds along with all the other pavilions and everything that's going on. And Bite of Seattle. Bite of Seattle is a huge festival with hundreds of booths where you can go try all this food. That's what's going on this weekend. So I make it over to where the press conference is going to be. And the press conference is going to be over in front of the Museum of Pop Culture. Jonathan Cho gives me the details. I meet him over there. And they say there's going to be a press conference, but we don't know when yet. So I'm hanging out there for a little while, and I'm talking to some of the reporters. As I'm standing there, because it's been so long at this point, it's now 9 o'clock, and somebody from the Seattle Police Department comes out to say, yeah, we're not going to be having this press conference until 9:45. 9:45? Are you kidding me? We're supposed to be a world-class city. And you want to wait 3 hours before you tell anybody what's going on? You just had people running in fear. It's all over social media. 3 hours? Who's actually running the show? So what happens is the PR guy for the Seattle Police Department comes out and people start asking him, hey, what's the story here?
Okay. Chief Davis is going to do it. Acting Chief Davis is going to do it. Okay, he's going to come out, like I said, 9:45.
Where's Sean Barnes? Next question. So he said acting Chief Davis. And I said acting chief. That means they're filling in for the actual police chief. Where is Sean Barnes, the police chief? Because the worst kept secret in Seattle is that Sean Barnes don't live in Washington State. He actually lives in Chicago. Oh, sure, he's got an apartment here, which he votes from, by the way, somehow, thanks to our friend Matt Gilbert for finding that one out. But Sean Barnes don't live here. Sean Barnes lives in Chicago. When he used to be the police chief in Madison, Wisconsin, you might remember him from that Christian school shooting where a trans shooter went in there, and then Sean Barnes was the one who wouldn't release the manifesto because he said he wanted to be sensitive towards the family of the shooter. You remember that? That was Sean Barnes. He apparently never moved to Madison, Wisconsin. He commuted to Chicago, where his family lives. So now he's doing the same thing. How much is this guy getting paid? That could have a house in Chicago, which is not a cheap city to live in. He could have an apartment here in Seattle in a building that's pretty swanky. And he can afford to fly back and forth. How much are we paying this guy? So Sean Barnes isn't going to be there. And I want to confirm this because did I really just hear what I just heard?
Oh, okay. But yeah.
Sean Barnes is not here.
No. He's not going to. He's not going to. So he's going to come out here and do it for you guys. And like I said, so about 30 minutes or so.
Who's it going to be?
Chief Davis.
Is Chief Barnes in town?
No, he's not right now. But he is on his way. We just had a briefing with him, and he's on his way back.
We had a briefing with him, and he's on his way back. Fully briefed on the situation. He didn't get back till this morning. Representative Pramila Jayapal wanted to look like she was doing something. I'm helping. So what did she do? She put out a statement. I've been briefed by Sean Barnes. So we're now playing a terrible game of broken telephone. Sean Barnes isn't in town. He has no idea what's going on. He's now telling Pramila Jayapal, so she's been briefed, so she could put out a statement. Bob Ferguson, I've been briefed by the Seattle Police Department. Was it Sean Barnes? We don't know. Dude wasn't here. And then we start finding out that they're waiting on dignitaries to have this press conference. Jeremy Harris from Como News had no problem calling this out, as he rightfully should.
We are almost 5 hours. I'm not mad at you. I am mad at the dignitaries that are holding up a press conference for the public to get information about a mass shooting outside of the space center. It is outrageous that we're being told to wait for dignitaries.
He's exactly right. We have to wait for Bob Ferguson to get there. Look, you could do your first press conference where you give us the details. Are you looking for a suspect? Are we safe? And then you could do one a few hours later. Now, while we're standing there, Seattle happens. Seattle crazy starts happening. You remember Phoenix Jones? We had our own vigilante. Apparently, we have other vigilantes. Did you know we have the Red Ranger here in Seattle? Kevin, did you know about the Red Ranger? I don't mean a Power Ranger. I mean the Red Ranger. This guy standing next to me at the press conference looks like he just walked out of Comic-Con. Got a full battle suit on of plastic and stuff. He's our vigilante. He apparently did a report about the shooting.
This is Red Ranger on patrol in downtown Seattle. There's an active shooter at the Bite of Seattle. I'm going to do what I can to assist. We'll keep you all updated.
Howdy, folks. This is Red Ranger on patrol with Crow. We are here at Seattle Center after the...
Crow is his sidekick. Crow is his little short sidekick. This is like right out of the movie Kick-Ass. I kid you not.
Shooting that occurred here at Seattle Center at the Bite of Seattle. I was here during the shooting. When it occurred, I attempted to evacuate as many people as possible. And now it is an active, ongoing police investigation to make sure that all those responsible are apprehended and in custody, and to make sure that victims are adequately cared for. So we're going to keep doing perimeter sweeps, going to keep our eyes on everyone else here in the city. So you all know how it is. Take care, stay safe as always. We'll see you in the streets.
So Red Ranger is protecting all of us during the shooting. I'm really glad we got Red Ranger. We don't have enough cops, but we got Red Ranger and Crow. Excellent. Excellent. Red Ranger and Crow are evacuating everybody. Don't worry, they were there for the shooting. They got their plastic shields and plastic armor, but they were there. They were there. We're good to go now.
You know, we have such a fantastic history of vigilante heroes in this town. When I think of Phoenix Jones, I think of...
Did he go to jail?
Somebody who was a criminal.
Yeah. Now,
what did Batman say?
You live long enough to die a hero or see yourself become the villain. Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, I guess old Phoenix fulfilled that prophecy.
Yeah. Now we don't know what's going to happen with Crow and Red Ranger.
Yeah.
Now, kudos to these guys for spending their free time trying to stop crime. Or I don't want to get on the bad side of the Red Ranger. Okay, I don't want to do that. But this is our city. Don't have police officers, but we got the cosplay guys. We got Red Ranger out there. Great. Fantastic.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say if you're dressing up in an outfit like a superhero and calling yourself the Red Ranger, I think he wants you to talk about him all you want.
Does he? Does he? And you think that might be?
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah, probably.
Good or bad or otherwise.
Yep. So we got Red Ranger and Crow. Do they have powers? Do they have superpowers? Or is it like Iron Man kind of deal? You build your suit and you can have plastic shields.
As someone who... When I was younger, thinking I was going to be a comic book artist at some point, I plateaued really early on how good I could draw, so that went out the window.
Yes.
I do appreciate putting a color before your, like Green Lantern, Green Arrow, that sort of thing.
Black Panther.
So I had my own hero that I created, the Green Grappler. Now, if someone takes that and starts fighting crime, I'm taking them to court because I created that character when I was 9 years old, and I have proof.
Now, Kevin, I wasn't as creative as you, I will say. My guy was just called Good Guy because he was a good guy. Had a giant G on his chest.
Oh, that's interesting. Mine had 2 G's for Green Grappler.
Oh, see? Look at this. See, this was meant to be, Kevin. This was meant to be. And I was really bad at cartoons, so I could draw the face like, But I always built up this huge like chest area and biceps, but the legs were always these little skinny stick things. I was terrible.
Yeah, they didn't have leg day.
No. Never had leg day. They fly. What do they need leg day for? They just fly. Anywho, getting back to this and our vigilantes. So now we've got the press, we've got the vigilantes, and everybody's cell phones are dying for this press conference. And maybe that was the plan. But finally we find out, who are we waiting for? Bob Ferguson, Pramila Jayapal, Katie Wilson. So they want to be in front of the camera so bad that they held up a press conference for 5 hours for us to find out a suspect is on the loose. They won't give us a description. This was all about virtue signaling. So what did Bob Ferguson add to this thing? Listen to what he said.
Governor, after this public safety tragedy, what is your office doing to add more police officers to cities like Seattle and Washington State?
God bless Jonathan Cho, by the way, for asking that question.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Number one, I just want to express my deep appreciation for the first responders.
Oh, shut up. You're the one who's always prosecuting them.
Who, as you heard, were literally on the scene and stepped in.
Yeah, I remember you standing up for them in 2020 during Defund the... Oh, wait, that wasn't you.
To help address the situation.
Notice he can't say cops, by the way. First responders.
And to also secure the entire Seattle Center, which I know took some time. So
was that the medics doing that? I think it was the cops.
We deeply appreciate all of their work. Number two, before I answer your question, of course, I want to say Bite of Seattle is about as iconic an event as we have in the city of Seattle.
Good. So why wasn't there security? Why are there no metal detectors? Why is there no measurable security to walk in and out of that place? Because you can go into any of the festivals they have in Seattle. Any of them. There is almost no measurable, meaningful security. Sure, there's plainclothes walking around and stuff, But you had 3 people able to pull out guns and shoot at each other. And then you didn't know where they were. Where are the cameras? Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson says there's no cameras over there. I assume Seattle Center, which is a private organization, has their own cameras. But there's no Seattle security cameras. Mind you, we don't even know if they were turned on or turned off because Katie Wilson turns them off because of her virtue signaling. So there was no real security at this thing. It was only a matter of oh, wait, this happened before at Folklife with all the dusty aging hippies. There was a shooting a few years ago, and they still didn't implement any meaningful security at Seattle Center. Don't tell me this is an iconic festival. If you cared about it, you'd secure it the way you secure the governor's mansion. You'd secure it the way you secure the Capitol in Olympia. Are we going to start seeing security at the Seattle Center events after a second shooting we've now had at this place?
It's where a community comes together and
to shoot each other. Nice, Bob.
Enjoys our city and being together. And any shooting like this is senseless. I think it's magnified for an event like this. And so all of us, our hearts go out to everybody who's impacted by this. I can't imagine being the parent of a 2-year-old toddler, for example, who's injured in a shooting like this. But for everybody who's impacted, our hearts go out to them. Number 2, to your question specifically, yes. I mean, as you know, in legislation, my first year as governor, we put into our budget a $100 million grant program for local jurisdictions.
Stop. 0 officers have been hired because of that program. 0, because there are so many conditions on the money that so many places have not applied for it. It has hired 0 officers. Bob Ferguson would rather prosecute officers than pay them. Pramila Jayapal is down there. What pearls of wisdom do we hear from the representative from Gaza? She likes terror. What does she have to say?
Congresswoman Jayapal, has the Trump administration been briefed on what's happening here at the federal level?
I know that the FBI has been in touch, obviously, and we are coordinating.
That's not obviously. That's not obviously. You talk about how you never want to work with them. You talk about how you don't want to work with ICE. You don't want to work with DHS. You don't want to work with Kash Patel. You don't want to work with anybody. That's not obvious. Good on Jonathan Cho for asking that question.
Across all different levels of government, we're going to continue to work with the mayor, with the governor, to make sure we get whatever federal resources we need here on the ground. And let me also just add my thanks to Seattle police officers.
Oh, shut up. You're one of the queens of defund the police. You just want to get in front of the camera. That's what you want to do. You want to get in front of the camera. So they have another press conference today after waiting 5 hours where then we find out a suspect has been on the run for 5 hours. He could be a Whistler by now, skiing. Could be anywhere. It could be in Northern California by now. Suspect has been on the run for 5 hours. Could be in a different country. Could be in British Columbia, in Canada right now. So they have a new press conference this morning. A new press conference. And what does Katie Wilson do? Ramble about gun violence.
Thursday night, there was a shooting near Aurora in North Seattle. Again in Capitol Hill on Friday night, and now at the Seattle Center.
Oh, stop it. Oh, let's talk about all the other shootings. Oh, gun violence is bad. No, it's the person holding the gun, and you keep releasing criminals. You don't want to keep them behind bars. You want to sentence them to diversion. This is a woman who is out of her depth. She thinks she could just say the virtue signals. She thinks she could just say the talking points and doesn't even know what she can and cannot do. This is amazing. This is amazing. Our friends over at the Linwood Times got this clip. Katie Wilson appears not to know that she can send out emergency text messages or other notifications to people here in Seattle.
During emergency, send text messages out to a lot of people. Is there a reason that no text messages were sent out? Seems like that could have been a way to notify people quickly.
I'm not sure that that's a tool that we normally use in situations like this.
Well, it claims the website says it's used for emergencies. It seems like it's probably a pretty serious emergency.
I think we were focusing on getting accurate information out through our normal communications.
Accurate information. There's a shooting. Stay away from Seattle Center. There's a shooting. We will update you when we know more. I've got a WhatsApp group for my synagogue. I told you a few weeks ago how one of the buildings on the property burned down. I didn't know what was going on yet. I said there have been reports of a fire at the synagogue. Unless you have something you need to be there for, please avoid the area. We don't need looky-loos. Then it was, there's been a fire at the synagogue. We don't know if it's arson. Please avoid the synagogue. Then there's been a fire. The fire department put it out. Everybody's okay. We don't think it was arson. Then it was, okay, there's a fire at the synagogue. Now we need your help fundraising. Thank God everybody's okay. Help us out with it. Did it in 4 stages. 4 stages. You could have done the same thing. She doesn't even know she has the texting software. Doesn't even know she has the texting software. They don't know what they can or cannot do. They don't know how a city functions. The inmates are running the asylum. Running the asylum. And this is how a city is mismanaged into the ground as if it wasn't bad enough before. We've got this mayor running our city, and she doesn't even know the tools at her disposal to deal with a disaster. There's not an orientation we could do? No. As long as it's not virtue signaling, we don't really care. We don't care about basic operations here in our city. Gets worse. Gets worse than that, my friends, because this isn't all there is. There was another press conference this afternoon, and Katie Wilson benched Sean Barnes. Benched him. We're going to tell you why and what he did when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, get those ballots in, my friends. Get those ballots in. Because you know what? Election day is going to be here before you know it. And you don't want to be the one who forgot to give in that ballot, and then you end up with somebody as incompetent as Katie Wilson. Also, a reminder for everybody that coming up at 6 o'clock today, we have the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, sponsored by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range, Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. That's going to be parts of the show today that you may have missed from 6 to 7 p.m. That's going to be the new schedule going forward. So that starts at 6 o'clock. If you're just tuning in now, you missed some of the show, you'll be able to catch it on the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded. That's from 6 to 7 p.m. Now, speaking of ballots, by the way, our friend Matt Gilbert did a little research for us. He heard the earlier part of the show. He saw my social media tweets about Sean Barnes not living in Washington. But apparently Sean Barnes is registered to vote in Washington. registered to vote in Seattle. Is he also registered to vote in Chicago, where his family actually lives? Now, this worst-kept secret in Seattle about Sean Barnes not living here boiled over today. Today, there was another press conference, and you have Bob Ferguson, you have Pramila Jayapal up there, but you know what I thought was weird? The two of them didn't talk, and the press conference got ended very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Started seeing Katie Wilson lose it. First, she got called out for not knowing there's an emergency texting situation. But Sean Barnes got called out by a reporter who was asking him if he lived in town or not and had to be hauled away. Literally hauled away. Give a listen.
I have been here working as hard as I can for this city from the day I got here. You got that?
But there are reports that you are not in town often.
Their reports are wrong. Do you understand?
Let's go, man. Let's go.
You understand?
So when
I work. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Had to be pulled away. Now, there was another press conference at 4 o'clock today. And we got a press announcement about this press conference. And the fascinating thing about this is it says Mayor and Seattle Police Department to provide update on Seattle Center shootings. Normally, these things say Mayor and Seattle Police Chief to provide an update. Today at 4 p.m. at Seattle City Hall, Mayor Wilson and Seattle Police Department will provide at the Seattle Police. The whole department is coming. The entire department is showing up. Not their press guy, not the entire department in full dress uniform. Right?
The Emperor's coming here?
The Emperor's coming here. That's very good, right? Very good, Kevin. Very, very good. No mention of Barnes. Who is going to be running this thing? Okay, maybe here it'll say the PR guy. Mayor Katie B. Wilson and Seattle Police Department. The whole department. They sent out an understudy. They sent out somebody whose name I don't even know. They sent her out because Sean Barnes has apparently been benched. Where was he? He wasn't here last night. Not here today. Where is the dude? He's been benched. So maybe they sent him back to his apartment. Go chill out, dude. Go cool off. Go chill out. Go cool down. Just go over there. Go far away. My question is, do you think Sean Barnes should be fired? You think he's going to get fired? They need a fall guy for this. This thing's too big. The incompetence where the camera's on and off. There's no cameras near the biggest tourist attraction here. 5-hour delayed response. Not giving out the victim, the suspect's description. They need a fall guy. It's not going to be Katie Wilson. You think they're setting up Sean Barnes to be the fall guy? The truth is he set himself up. He's never here. He's never in town. Katie Wilson also kind of lost her cool when she was confronted with the 5-hour delay. You could have just sent out messages. You know her office screwed up, told us that there were 2 suspects in custody. Then there was 1 suspect in custody. Now, it's okay to get things wrong, but then they wouldn't own it. And why are you having this massive delay? Here's Katie Wilson losing at the press conference.
There was no direction from Governor Ferguson's office or Pramila Jayapal's office to wait to do the press conference until they got to.
As soon as we coordinated with SPD and agreed that it was time to talk to the media, as soon as we knew that we were going to be doing that, I and Governor Ferguson and Congresswoman Jayapal arrived on the scene within minutes.
So you can say his office unequivocally did not tell you to wait?
No, absolutely not.
What was the delay in the basics, the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of what happened? You had people running, you had people shot on the ground with bullet holes in their backs, covered in white sheets, and we are sitting here waiting. And the only thing that we had was a tweet and people who were afraid and a lot of information on social media filling the vacuum. So why is it that citizens in the city of Seattle had to wait for almost 5 hours to get answers about something so serious that's made national headlines?
Yeah, I mean, my office put out a statement at 8:30, which again included an initial inaccuracy. So again, this speaks to the tension between providing information early and providing it accurately. So we, along with SPD, were trying to manage that tension, and we got information out to you all as soon as we possibly could.
Okay.
No. Do you know what her statement was? It was all about gun violence. There was one thing about there's 2 suspects in custody. There weren't, because she was too busy writing a statement about gun violence. It's not the gun that killed anybody. It's the junior gangbangers that killed people. 3 of them now. 1 who's still on the loose. And you could have said, we're still looking for suspects. You know what? I was walking to the press conference. Kevin, I didn't tell you this yet. So I'm walking to the press conference, and I'm rounding the Mopop. And a person who's wearing a Pacific Science Center IMAX uniform is walking past me and they're on the phone and they're on speakerphone. I'm hearing their entire conversation right past the main entry of the MoPOP. And they're going, dude, they just released us. They were looking for the suspect in the IMAX in the Science Center. They didn't know where they were. They were keeping us in there. And I had heard rumors that 600 people were in the IMAX for the Odyssey or whatever it was. They were trapped in the IMAX until 8:30 at night. I don't think the movie's that long. I think it was supposed to be over around 6 o'clock. But they thought the suspect had run into the IMAX. So while they're looking for this dude in the IMAX, they're not telling anybody that he might be at large. And I wonder if that's because they screwed up so badly that they thought they had this dude cornered in the IMAX. He wasn't even in the building. And they're sweeping all the other pavilions at Seattle Center. This was a colossal disaster of a response. Somebody's head is going to roll for this politically. And the question is, who is it going to be? Because that reporter was right. This is a national story. And here's something else. You managed to piss off the entire press corps. The entire press corps is mad because you didn't give them information. One more thing. I reached out to the governor's office. I reached out to the mayor's office. I reached out to the Seattle Police Department. Normally, the only one that gets back to me is the Seattle Police Department. Seattle Police Department ain't talking. I reached out to them last night, still haven't gotten a response. Katie Wilson's office, not talking. Governor's office wants to be so far removed from this, they're trying to pivot the blame. Quote, the governor was at a softball tournament with his daughter over the weekend. He was in Olympia by approximately 2 p.m. Sunday. He received word about the shooting at approximately 7 p.m. You waited an hour before telling the governor of Washington State? You waited an hour before telling him? This stuff was already on social media at 6 o'clock. And immediately drove down to Seattle. He was at the location within 10 minutes of Seattle Center by 9 p.m. So now we know why they were holding the press conference. At approximately 10:10 p.m., the governor received word that there would be a media availability at the Seattle Center, but yet they were telling us it was going to be at 9:45, so they were already delaying the thing. At 9, they're already giving the media incorrect information. That's because your mayor is incompetent, your Seattle police chief isn't in town. Who's actually running the city? And all these politicians just wanted their face on the news. They're addicted to that red dot on the screen. Completely addicted. When we come back, people who know how to run the show, our friends over in the Trump administration, are working on lowering your utility bills while Seattle is increasing them. We'll have the story for you with the assistant press secretary at the White House coming up next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, Seattle City Light, if you haven't seen the news yet, has increased our utility rates 9.5% this year and 9.5% next year, a 20% increase over the next 2 years. And the Seattle City Council claims they are all about affordability. Now, meanwhile, our friends in Washington, D.C., over in the Trump administration, are actually trying to lower our utility rates by making sure we have more power, specifically for data centers. Joining us now to discuss on the KVI studio line, Assistant Press Secretary Taylor Rogers. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. Now, you guys rolled this out, which is the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. What can you tell us about it?
Sure. Well, the Ratepayer Protection Pledge is a historic initiative that the president came up with and promised to implement in his State of the Union address at the beginning of the year. And essentially, it's ensuring that average American households are not being passed down the costs from this data center boom. And so the president recognized that every part of American life runs through data centers, 911 call centers, air traffic control, cell phone calls. But the president wanted to make sure that while we have this data center boom and we win in the AI race, we are not passing on increased electricity bills to American families and businesses. And so initially, back in March, the president delivered on his promise by having 7 of the largest tech companies signed on to the pledge. But it was so impactful that this past week, the president expanded his pledge to a broader coalition. So it's now covered by over 200 organizations, including 23 governors, and it covers more than 80% of power delivered to American homes and businesses.
See, let's dig into this a little bit more, because a lot of people have heard the things about data centers. Oh, they use up so much energy. Oh, they pollute the water, or whatever else it is. And yet I said from the very, very beginning, okay, if you have those problems and they're bringing in jobs and they're bringing in companies, figure out a way to solve the power, figure out a way to solve the water. And while it seems like a lot of that stuff that's being spread is, I don't want to call it a psyop, but let's just say it's conspiracy theory stuff, there is a power issue because these things use so much power. So creating more power should be a good thing. I mean, that's the Trump administration. Drill, baby, drill. Let's do more oil. Let's do more power. It always seemed like a no-brainer, especially when we're talking about more electric stoves, more electric ovens, more ACs, more heat pumps, more electric cars. This seems like a no-brainer, especially when we live in such a technologically reliant world.
Well, that's right. And to be clear, under the Biden administration, if we were building these data centers and we had this AI boom, because of the energy subtraction policies that he supported, we would not have been able to support the growing demand. But thanks to the president, who has reversed course on these green new scam policies and has unleashed affordable, reliable, and secure energy sources, we are able to power our grid, and we're able to power our grid in times when we need it most, and in heat waves. And the winter storm Fern that we had during in January across the Northeast. And so the president's energy dominance agenda is more than just, powering our homes, but it's also making sure that we're able to win in this AI race. And so the president has chosen a responsible path forward by releasing all of the abundant resources that we have here in the United States.
We're talking with Assistant Press Secretary Taylor Rogers for the White House. Now, let me make sure I got this right. You're saying that California, with its rolling brownouts and mandated blackouts, that's a bad thing. We don't want to be like them, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, Governor Gavin Newsom has surely adopted and continued to implement Joe Biden's failing Green New Scam agenda, which the American people resoundingly rejected when they elected President Trump in 2024. And that's because it does not work. It makes prices go sky high, and it also, to your point, causes brownouts. And that's why the president says so frequently that we see other countries that have continued down this road. Unfortunately, many of our allies in Europe have continued on with this idea of the Green New Scam. And unfortunately, they're seeing power outages. They're seeing sky high prices, and they're having to rely on chokeholds like the Strait of Hormuz for their energy sources. And so What Governor Newsom and the Democrats want, and by the way, they continue to support and adopt and implement, does not work. And it's going to, it would raise prices just like we saw under Biden, and it would put us in a place where our national security is jeopardized because, as the president says, you cannot have national security without energy security.
Now, I do love that the Democrats on the Green New scam, they love to say, oh, we want all this electric stuff, and yet fail to build nuclear power or any other power that's required for this. So how many Democrats have opted into this power protection program that you guys are running right now to make sure that we build more power for all their Green New Deal ideas?
Well, like I said, 23 governors signed the pledge. All 23 of those governors are Republican governors. So I don't think any Democrats have signed the pledge now. Unfortunately, we've seen, governors like Kathy Hochul in New York, whose solution is just to have a moratorium, which the president said, last week that he rejects that idea. We need to compete with, countries like China when it comes to AI dominance. And so the president's about finding a common sense solution. He wants the best for all Americans, no matter, if their governor is in a blue state or a red state. So we encourage Democrat governors to sign the pledge and have data centers pay their way so that ratepayers do not incur the cost of this data center boom. And then we have a common sense solution where American households and families win, and we also win this race for AI dominance.
And just before we let you go, just a reminder for our audience, Governor Bob Ferguson here in Washington is once again talking about and studying tearing down the Snake River dams, which are hydroelectric power, the cleanest power you can possibly have. Even though he claims it's harming the fishies, the salmon population is coming back and booming. So you should be asking yourselves why they want to get rid of our cleanest energy. Taylor Rogers, Assistant Press Secretary for the Trump administration, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, including your good news headlines. Put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Now, I am getting more and more updates on the shooting, more and more stuff. I'm going to have more information for you tomorrow. I'm going to have more information for you tonight. But I just want to remind everybody that if you missed any part of the show and all the news we've been breaking today, the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded will run from 6 to 7 p.m. going forward. It's sponsored by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range, Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. And remember that the indoor range at Wade's is air-conditioned and open 7 days a week. So, my friends, we want to thank our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns for sponsoring this new segment. And those of you who always say, I missed that part of the show, and don't do podcasts or whatever, yeah, a whole nother hour of the Ari Hoffman Show of everything you may have missed. So that's coming up right when I'm done today. That's going to be from 6 to 7 p.m., the stuff you may have missed earlier today. You know, Kevin, I may have been too hard on those vigilantes here in Seattle. I may have been too hard on the Red Ranger. The Red Ranger. I'll tell you why. Now, for those of you who may have missed this earlier in the show, the Red Ranger is a vigilante who showed up last night in full cosplay gear along with his sidekick Crow to help with the shooting at Seattle Center. Here's what he said.
This is Red Ranger on patrol in downtown Seattle. There's an active shooter at the Bite of Seattle. I'm going to do what I can to assist. We'll keep you all updated. Howdy, folks. This is Red Ranger on patrol with Crow. We are here at Seattle Center after the shooting that occurred here at Seattle Center at the Bite of Seattle. I was here during the shooting. When it occurred, I attempted to evacuate as many people as possible. And now it is an active, ongoing police investigation to make sure that all those responsible are apprehended and in custody, and to make sure that victims are adequately cared for. So we're going to keep doing perimeter sweeps, going to keep our eyes on everyone else here in the city. So you all know how it is. Take care, stay safe as always. We'll see you in the streets.
We may not have police, but we have Red Ranger.
You know, it's tough for me to talk about this stuff because like such a tragic, awful thing happening and such a stupid, idiotic thing like this that comes along with it. That being said, guy needs to work on his superhero voice and from the sounds of things, his cardio as well.
Yeah. So, number one, he's in a thing with no air holes that I can see. So I think the first problem is a breathing issue. At least Batman's got to have, but you got to work on, I'm Batman. You got to really work on that, right? If you're going to do that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Now, mind you, as much fun as we're making fun of this dude, I guess he helped evacuate people who are running for their lives out of an empty area, open area.
Okay, so the guy actually was at least helping out. Is that like he wasn't just standing around in his uniform? Or
in his like cardio that needs work, I'm sure he was helping out. But Good Samaritan, perhaps I'm too harsh on the Red Ranger and his sidekick Crow. This story in Arkansas, a Good Samaritan wearing a Spider-Man costume was captured on video leaping out of his vehicle to help a man in a wheelchair cross a busy intersection. Okay, I have questions. Were you going to a costume party? Or are you a performer of some kind? Or you just go, this guy needs... why are you wearing the Spider-Man costume? The heartwarming scene was filmed by traffic cameras on Tuesday after Christopher Hellenthal, 20, said he clocked out of work at a trampoline park in Jonesboro. So you work at the trampoline park, you wear the Spider-Man costume, that's cute, but you wear it for the way home with the mask?
I was going to say,
mask.
They don't got locker rooms there or something?
Yeah, I like change it. Okay, it can't be comfortable with the twig and berries. It just can't be when you're driving the car, but also the mask. So you threw on the mask to get out of... Look, he went to help somebody. I shouldn't be making this much fun out of him, but I have so many questions.
Look,
so many questions.
I know it's called the good news segment, and oftentimes it's not so good because me and you do things like what I'm going to say right now. But couldn't he have easily just had his friend Terry get in a wheelchair? He get in and then have someone film him dressed up as Spider-Man go out and help?
Could be.
I mean, I hate to be so negative, but I mean, any more for clicks?
Well, hang on. It gets crazier. Hang on. This morning we had a superhero day. And so I bought it for the toddlers, and they had a blast. Whenever I got off work and clocked out, I actually just head into town and kind of drive around with the suit. Okay. And I noticed there was this man in a wheelchair. He was having a lot of trouble. He wasn't going to make it, so I got out real fast, just helped him along. Adrenaline pumping through me. I just told the man, I said, don't worry, I got you. I guess he understood. I got him to a safe spot, made him back to my vehicle, and just drove off, but not before speaking to the media, who managed to find me somehow about this incident. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded is up next. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI.